I think I'm allergic. Please be quiet.
Shut the fuck up, Charlie. I've got a massive mouthful of theory about season one of Lost and what I think was the original plan for season one. And two things you need to know. First of all, I'm a writer, director, producer. And so I see things from that angle. And I can kind of see how the intentions of a writer during one circumstance, and then when they reverse course and they got to do something else, then you can incorporate what you've already done into the larger story, even though you had to change course. You see it all the time. You'll see, like, season 1 and 2 of Person of Interest, for instance. They had a much bigger role in mind for the character, that was his CIA compadre. I can't remember her name, but you know the one. Psycho bitch. They tried to, they were going to kill each other. She was kind of a psycho. She was really ice cold and all that shit. Does that make you think of anybody? Later in season 2 and in season 3, 4, and 5, Shaw, you know, imagine everything Shaw did, and imagine that being his partner instead. His original CIA partner. That was the role they had in mind for her. That was what they were going to do. But the actress got another role, and she was a lead in some other series, and they couldn't promise a lead role at the time. Like the Shaw actress, Sherry something, Sherry. She was available. She didn't have any other gigs, so they could string her along until they made her a lead in, I think, season 3. But that was originally going to be, the CI partner. You could see it, right? You could see it in your mind, like what they were doing. But they had to kill off the partner, and then they invented a new character, basically the same character, And so that's what you can see when you're a writer producer. You can see what the writers are doing. Like sometimes circumstances require you change what you're doing. But it's easy to you can see, like with Person of Interest, how they did that. So I believe I've identified something in season 1 of Lost. And the second thing you have to keep in mind, when you do the first season of a series, when you're writing, you don't know whether you're going to be picked up for a second season or not. Chances are you might have to wrap it up in one season. The flash forward that happened, the event. When you're doing a show that's just kind of a genre show, that's not episodic. In other words, where every episode is like a monster of the week. When you're doing a mythology kind of show, and you're in your first season, you don't know if you're going to be picked up for another season. You kind of have to leave yourself an out to wrap up all that mythology in one season. So you can at least have like a season of like basically a long miniseries. You could have a story. Now you won't be able to wrap up all the loose ends unless you find out really early that you're going to be canceled. But you leave yourself that open. Here's a good example. Season 1 of 24. They had only been picked up for 13 episodes. So they had a plan. You can see how they wrote that season. If you think back to it, everything culminates in the fucking 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock hours. Like that's when they get rid of the original big bad, right? And then what they did is they basically did the same story again for the second half of the season. His family gets kidnapped again. They force him to do something again. It's like they were kind of repeating the same storyline from the first 12 episodes. The first 12 episodes were really well plotted out because they had all this time leading up to it. But they had it where they could wrap up the entire show after just 13 hours. And you can see, like, they're rescued from the thing and there's nothing deeper going on. These people have been hired to kill them, and you could just blame some random country like they did in future seasons. And you could presume that country got punished, and that was it. It could have been a 13-hour miniseries, and that was it. That's all we'd ever known about 24. They had the writing planned that way. I believe the same thing was done with Lost. I believe they had a 20 to 24 episode season planned out, series planned out. And then, and because especially with production cycles and the way the scripts are written, they didn't really get the news for that they were going to be picked up for a second season until 16 to 20 scripts had already been written. Probably around 16, like they had done a first draft of some of the other scripts. But around 15, 16, 17, what hadn't been shot yet was around the time they got the news. So I believe I've deduced what the original plan was if this series had only been one season, what they were going to do. And again, they would have had probably some dangling plot points, and maybe it ended on a cliffhanger and all this stuff, but they could have literally really shrunk the mythology down to about one season. And I'm going to walk you through that now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you clips from season 1 featuring John Locke, primarily, but some other characters, and walk you through this one step at a time. And we'll see at the end of this if you guys agree with me. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, the first clips we're going to be seeing is from episode 5, White Rabbit. Jack he's crazy, he's running through the forest. He's seeing his fucking father, like literally right behind him right there. We know later from later seasons that's the smoke monster. And the smoke monster's plan was to lead in the water, right? Ow. I mean, this is a precarious ass situation, man, going straight off the fucking cliff. Eat your heart out, Tom Brady. Fans of First Take will get that joke. He's going to die, and all the other candidates are going to be without somebody to coalesce around and a leader that can lead them all in one direction, But fortunately, Locke's here. And here's my question. How did Locke know where he was and that he needed help? Now, they say in dialogue after this that, Locke went looking for Jack because everybody's worried about him. Okay, cool. Maybe he just heard Jack, making all this goddamn noise. That's a very plausible explanation. He just heard Jack making all this goddamn noise and tracked him and realized he must be in a fucking fucked up situation. That makes sense. I mean, that's a plausible explanation, right? So we'll go with that for now. Put a pin in that. But just keep this in the back of your mind. I like the symbology here of Locke, like gathering water.
The others.
Thirsty. Hungry.
Yeah. You really need somebody to lead you to the water, don't you, Jack?
And they need someone to tell them what to do.
Yes, they do.
But you see him?
Yes. But he's not there.
I love this. The delivery, the acting is excellent.
You said the same thing, then what would your explanation be as a doctor?
I'd call it an hallucination. He's old.
Jack really needed this pep talk, by the way. This pep talk, not only being saved from the cliff, but this pep talk calmed him down and focused him and made him a little bit less reckless, right? He needed this pep talk right here at this moment. Just keep that in mind.
But I've looked into the eye of this island, and what I saw...
Interesting you should phrase it that way.
...was beautiful.
Everybody's assuming he's talking about the monster, the smoke monster, right? But he said looks into the eye of the island, and it was beautiful. Almost, a parallel to that would be saying looking at the heart of the island, right? You've seen the heart of the island. Something we won't really know about for another 5 seasons. But that's a parallel to what he said there, right? Just keep that in mind. Yeah, Jack really needed a pep talk. Good thing that Locke happened upon him, Next up, we got some clips from episode 6, House of the Rising Sun. He's a fiend. He is fiending, boy.
Look, I was just going to tell you.
I like how Locke's just pretending he didn't see that, by the way.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's a good thing Locke knew to, follow Charlie. God damn, man. I remember yelling at him being stupid and shit. But, those motherfuckers are crawling all the fuck over him, man. Okay, so there's 4 of them here, right? Charlie mentions being stabbed all those fucking times and shit. These 2 clearly getting stabbed. I guess stabbed with a bee stinger, right? These 2 clearly been getting fucking harassed by the bees like a motherfucker, right?
Anybody there? Everyone all right?
Yeah, Locke seems completely unfazed by the bees, right? Still has all his clothes on. No visible bee stings.
Was only stung several hundred times.
Yeah, he was stung several hundred times, and those 2 clearly were traumatized by the bees, and Locke just seems unfazed by them. We don't have any solid evidence. We can't prove that he didn't get stung. It's just interesting. Just keep that in mind.
It's dangerous out there. Until we get back to the beach, I'm not breaking line of sight with you.
Bugger off.
Yeah, that's the reason. Just because it's dangerous out there.
I know what you're looking for.
Entirely possible. It's plausible. There could be another reason, though.
Drive shaft. You played bass.
And guitar.
Isn't it remarkable that he would recognize Charlie from an obscure band, not even the lead singer, right? Yeah. I mean, it could be just a coincidence. There's a lot of coincidences on this show. Coincidence, Jacob, we get that. So it's entirely plausible. That's all this is. Now, why do you think Locke is so obsessed with Charlie at this point?
I'm going in the jungle.
It could be right. It's just dangerous. That's all it is.
A right to some privacy.
Just hand it to me.
You know,
Gonna run out.
and he just knew. I guess he could have seen
I
it
guess
earlier. Like,
sooner
it's
rather
possible
than
that he
later.
could have just seen the drugs in his hand
Painful
earlier and
detox is inevitable.
knew what it was.
Give it up now, at least it'll be your choice.
That's entirely plausible.
But I want to help.
Calm, reasonable, offering to help. Does that remind you of anybody besides Locke, you know?
Look up, Charlie.
You're not gonna ask me to pray or something.
I want you to look up.
I love that line. I guess you would look up when you pray, I suppose. I mean, I usually would look down when I would pray, you know? You know, it's interesting that Locke noticed that up there. You know, it's entirely plausible he was just looking around and he saw it and kept it in his mind, had that conversation with Charlie. Maybe seeing it even reminded him maybe who Charlie was. Like, yeah, very plausible. That could be what it was. Next, we're going into episode 7, The Moth.
You make excellent bait.
I'm glad I could oblige.
Very chilling line, isn't it? You make excellent bait. In the way you deliver it, very chilling.
Given to you. Now, just so we're clear, this is one.
Why?
Why? Why
You
are
know,
you doing
look at
this?
the self-assurance and just confidence that Locke has that this is going to work. Supreme confidence. He doesn't doubt himself for a second.
Decisions based on more than instinct is the only thing that separates you from him.
Damn, that's cold-blooded, by the way. Jesus. That's some cold shit. Cold self-confidence. Just something to keep in mind.
And why aren't you with him?
He knew the answer to
You
every
didn't
one of
come
these
to tell me
questions
about
he's
Jack,
asking.
did you?
You see that? He fucking knew the answer of every question before we even asked the question. Does that remind you of anybody else in the show's history? And I suppose he was just like, he
What do you
somehow
suppose
noticed
is in
this
that
moth
cocoon, Charlie?
while he's doing all this other shit, preparing his fucking board.
know.
He just
A
sees
butterfly,
and notices
I guess?
everything on this
It's much
island
more
and his
beautiful.
surroundings, right?
That's a moth cocoon. It's
I mean,
ironic.
it's possible. It's plausible. He could just totally just have noticed that and kept it in the back of his mind. Just like he noticed a guitar. He noticed every damn, like the drugs in Charlie's hands. He noticed every fucking thing, right? That's plausible, I guess. Oh, look at it.
This is the third time.
See, maybe a little bit of
Sure you really
self-doubt
want
here.
I've made my
Maybe.
choice.
But he could just be playing a part, you know. I like that subtle look of disgust in his face, like, you disgust me. Maybe you're weaker than I thought you were. But then again, maybe he knew all along what was going to happen. It's entirely possible.
I'm proud of you, Charlie.
He really did Charlie a solid here,
I
man.
always knew you could do it.
Yeah, and see, maybe like he never doubted. He seemed like very confident. He always knew Charlie would do this. He knew exactly what to say and how to motivate Charlie. Exactly. Almost as if he had read Charlie's mind somehow, you know, if that was possible. A master motivator and a master manipulator are two sides of the same coin, is all I'm saying. Just something to keep in mind. Now we jump forward to episode 10, Raised by Another. Hear that metallic click when he's doing the cards? That's
What's
interesting, isn't it?
happening?
Metallic
You know
click.
what's happening.
But I don't understand. Why?
It was your responsibility, but you gave him away, Claire.
Very creepy dream sequence.
Everyone pays the price now.
Look at that shit, man. Very creepy dream sequence. Now, you know, you could just say this dream that starts the episode sets up because she has a dream later, and the whole thing about like being freaked out by dreams motivates the plot, right? So this could be all that is. They could have just been, let's do anything. Let's just randomly do anything that's creepy to set the mood for the episode and, you know, set her mood where she's paranoid. Which eventually makes Jack think that she's hysterical, which makes her leave, which ends up is why she gets kidnapped. You know, she's easy to snatch at that point. Maybe that's all this is. They could have picked any character. There's like 25 main characters on this show, right? They could have picked anybody. They picked John Locke. They gave him the white and black eyes, you know. Just, it could be a coincidence. Maybe, you know, I mean, this dream doesn't go anywhere. It never foreshadows anything that we know of. Unless it foreshadows what happens to Locke in later seasons, you know, like, you know, season 5 and 6. But that's all. Like, you know, so it could be this is merely to set the table for this one particular episode. Doesn't have any fucking meaning or symbology or anything extending beyond this one episode. And they just randomly pulled John Locke out of a hat. It could have been anybody. They threw a dart on the board, it hit John Locke's name, so that's the character they used for this dream sequence. That's entirely possible. You know, it's possible. It's plausible, even. Okay, next we have episode 11, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues.
You ever watch Star Trek?
Not really.
The crew
Damn,
guys
heathen.
that would go down to the planet with the main guys, the captain and the guy with the pointy ears.
Okay, here's what's interesting about this. Locke has never heard about the red shirt thing. Which, you know, and okay, fair enough. Like, not everybody's a complete fucking nerd, right? But I had heard about it for so long, like, I'd been making those jokes for 30 years and shit. And most people have been making those jokes. Anybody who's, like, vaguely nerdish at all, right? It was part of pop culture. Here's what's fascinating about this. Boone clearly was just a very casual fan of Star Trek. Didn't even know Spock's name. Who's the most famous character from the original series? Kirk? Okay, fair enough. Who's the second most famous character? It's got to be Spock, and Spock might be more famous. Pointy ears, he's going to say the guy with the pointy ears. Like, so he doesn't even know Spock's name, and he fucking knows about the red shirt syndrome, okay? That tells me probably he heard it from a friend, you know, maybe a college roommate who was a nerd, who did like Star Trek, told him about the red shirt shit, and maybe even told him Spock's name or whatever, but like that, you know, that didn't stick in his mind. What stuck in his mind is the red shirt thing. So in other words, you can be nerd adjacent, maybe even twice removed from a nerd, still know about the red shirt thing, and not fucking know about Spock's name, right? So clearly Boone's like once or twice removed, right? Locke's never heard of it. I just think that's interesting. It's noteworthy, you know? Like Locke's never heard of Star Trek. Well, he's heard of Star Trek. He said he wasn't a fan, but he had never heard of the red shirt thing. Yeah, just interesting.
Yeah? Oh. Sounds like a piss poor captain.
Right, like he has no context whatsoever for what Boone's talking about.
It's been about 15 minutes since we've seen any sign. What are we following?
My gut.
His
Right.
gut, huh? Okay. Fair enough. You know, we know Locke's good at this kind of shit. Maybe the island is telling him. You know, it's possible.
It's gonna start raining.
Wow, what an amazing prediction.
1 minute.
Now, everybody, I'm not unique in this. Everybody questioned this at the time. They've questioned it later. We all assumed he's really in tune with the island. That's all it is. He's just in tune with the island. That's all. Yeah, and again, you're talking about motivation versus manipulation. I admire your courage, the whole thing. You know, like, it's a great way to get somebody to stay with you, like that whole conversation you have with him. You know. Wow, what an amazing prediction, by the way. You know, maybe he's just in tune with the island. Maybe that's all this is.
I don't see how you can still be following this
Yeah, it's
trail.
amazing. Like, you must be really, really in tune with the island, you
I think
know?
we should go back, man. I'm gonna follow the strip back.
Suit yourself.
Yeah, but let me show you
Ooh.
something first.
You need this
Yeah.
more than I do.
All the places in the entire fucking island. We're talking about, what is it? Probably 4 foot per side rectangle here. Just now, of course, writing convenience. You could just say it's writing convenience. The writers want them to discover this. Okay, cool. That could be what's going on here. Or maybe he already knew that was there. Now, the weakness of me saying that is, like, Boone initiated a conversation about walking back. But he had done it before, and Locke talked him out of it. This time, Locke made no attempt to talk about it because they were where they were supposed to be, where they needed to be. He didn't need to bring Boone any further in to discover this hatch, right? Yeah, that's another possible interpretation of this scenario. So now we move forward to episode 13, Hearts and Minds.
What is that?
Interesting how he's already making this
It's for later.
glue, you know, or whatever, you know, this ointment, you know. He's already making the ointment here. Now, a clip I didn't show you was like he had a few misgivings about talking to his sister Shannon. For the rest of this series,
Years later, a visiting prince came.
does
into
Locke
the
show any
studio
proficiency
and
for
found the
Italian?
master staring at
You know?
a single 18-foot block.
Isn't it amazing that he would learn these Italian words just for this one story?
Every day for the past 4 months.
You know, he never talks about having any proficiency with languages after this. So he never quotes any Italian, never
for his supper.
anything, you know? I just find that interesting.
Michelangelo turned around and looked at him and whispered, Sto lavorando.
See, like, look at that perfect Italian, man. I assume, yeah. I mean, I know a bunch of stories about a bunch of things, but I didn't memorize the original language those stories were told in to emphasize my point. But yeah, you notice that he was making that head ointment here. You know, how would he know that he would need it today of all days? You know.